What's going on, guys? Welcome to this week's episode of Ask Mish. Let's just jump right in. Why not? All right, I got a steamy one for you guys today. Well, it's actually not a steamy one. It's actually the opposite of steamy. We're gonna make it steamy though. We're gonna take this problem. We're gonna put some steam in there. We're gonna make this a sexy episode. It's a question that I feel like so many people who are in long-term relationships deal with. So I thought it would be super relatable. Also, not for nothing, guys, when I look at my analytics, the episodes you guys download the most are the sex-based ones. So I thought I'd throw you one. It's been a minute since we did one, and this was a question that I feel like everyone has struggled with at some point in their life. If you guys would like to have one of your questions answered, you want some advice from me opposed to the other people in your life, I'm here for you. So go on my Instagram at mish_mindset and you can slide into my DMs or see if my story has a little sticker on it. And I will definitely answer your question in the stories or maybe on the podcast next Thursday. Okay, let's dive in here. Dear Mish, I've been with my partner for a while and I love him, but sex has become a complete chore. We still do it. I feel bad turning him down, but I dread it every time. I feel like it was exciting maybe the first year that we were together, but now it feels like something that he always wants, but I'm never in the mood for. What are your thoughts? Is there any way to get the spark back? All right, so let's backtrack here, right? When someone first starts a relationship, pretend you're in a brand new relationship. Sex is so much fun because there's a novelty to it, right? Like it's new, it's exciting, it's playful. There's a desire there for that person just because it's new. Now, that desire can be preserved throughout an entire relationship, but if you're using the newness and the novelty to spark that desire and then you don't replace it with something else, that's where sex can start to become really boring over time if you're not careful about it. Like people will call it the honeymoon phase. The honeymoon phase can last as long as you want it to, but you can't rely on the newness of a relationship to carry it through. There's got to be something else to replace it with to create that spark and keep that desire and maintain that polarity in relationships. All right, so I'm going to do my best to translate this from both sides, how they're experiencing it. But I am a female, so if I'm misrepresenting the male side, please let me know here. But this is my take on it. So, like I said, when you're first in a new relationship, just the novelty of it, getting to know somebody, it's super exciting. You feel chosen. There's a whole thing, right? After that, it's your responsibility as a couple to create that desire, to create that polarity and nurture it and make sure that it's still around. So you have to find other ways to make yourself and your partner desirable. You have to kind of date and flirt and be cute about it. We'll get into that in a second. But I think what happens is a lot of times that attraction kind of fades. Nobody really sees it coming or knows what to do about it, or everyone's involved in their lives and all of a sudden one day you're like, oh my God, we haven't had sex for 7 days. Now, here's what I think happens. I think in general, men are more likely to just be horny, right? I think men will just have a guy can see an ankle and be like, damn, I'm turned on. Whereas for females, spontaneous horniness is not as common as an event, I think, for most women. So women are more likely to be turned on or be horny when things start happening. So flirting, touching, closeness, blah, 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 blah. So it's not that we're never in the mood. It's just that you have to give us a reason to get there. But I think what happens is everyone gets involved in their day-to-day lives and both people clock, oh my gosh, it's been a minute since we've had sex. So the guy is like, it's been a minute since we have sex. Let's do it. And the woman's like, ew, gross, get away from me. Because when you feel like somebody needs it from you, nothing is less sexy than that. I've talked about this before. Women have to be preheated, right? It's like a preheating oven. Men are just, the oven's just hot. They're just you can put anything in it at any time. For women, we need to be preheated. So when somebody just wants sex from us, that is not attractive. If you desire us, that's more attractive. And there is a difference. If I just think you're horny and you would just fuck anything, that's not going to be as exciting to me as you want me or chasing me or choosing me. So my first suggestion for the guys, if you notice it's been a minute since you and your partner have had sex, don't just be like, oh, let's do it. Make it cute, flirt, send a cute message, give us something to get turned on for. So that's my point number one. Point number two is if you have just been it's been a long time since we have sex and you just kind of put it out there. Now everyone's feeling bad about it. Now people are feeling guilty about it. And now the woman's like, oh my God, he's right. It has been a really long time. So now she feels like she has to force herself to want it. It should be all right, let's get us back to the place where we desire it from each other. That should be the sign. Because then when the person feels bad, now they're doing it out of guilt or obligation, For the woman, it's like, ugh, like it's annoying. And for the guy, like I can't speak on behalf of guys, but I feel like guys know when a woman's just doing it just to like check it off her to-do list, like when it's become a homework assignment where she just like feels obligated. And like guys not in relationships, I think they don't necessarily care. But if you're a guy and you're in a relationship, like you want to feel wanted, I think, right? Like you don't want you just don't want to have sex. You want like intimacy with somebody. You want to feel like she wants me, she desires me. So just making it into a homework assignment is, I think, the worst thing you could do. Making the other person feel guilty about it is the worst thing you can do. So instead, I think together recognize, okay, yeah, like the desire might have faded a little bit, but what can we do to get the desire back? Not like, let's put this on our calendar for a Monday. To me, like, that's the most unsexy thing somebody can do. And this is important because I don't think sex stops because people stop loving each other. I think sex stops because it stops feeling like a desire and it starts feeling like a responsibility. It becomes something that you feel like you owe somebody. It becomes like a homework assignment. And I think especially for women who like carry so much of the mental load, like when you experience it like, oh, somebody else needs something from me, nothing is going to dry you up faster. So from a woman's point of view, I'll give you a bunch of reasons as to like what's going on. Because again, we need to be mentally into it to be actually into it. Where guys, it's more mechanical. I think it's just more like physically, like ready to go. Here I am reporting for duty. Whereas for women, like our minds have to be clear before like that could be something that we enjoy. So the first thing, like I said earlier, have you replaced the initial like novelty and desire in your relationship for something else? Like have you like created like a spark for that desire to happen? If you have, but you're still not getting what it is you're looking for, we have to look at like the mental health of, I think, the women. So pressure, right? If we're putting pressure on her to have sex, like that just kills it. Like whenever it becomes a job, it's not going to be fun. Number two is resentment. If she's carrying a lot of the mental load and there's resentment there, like she's working the full-time job and then she also is doing all the kids stuff after school. And then, oh yeah, she remembered that the kids project is due on Saturday. And then, oh yeah, we have to go to this PTA meeting here. And oh, you just get to show up. You don't have to worry about a damn thing. When all of the mental load is on her, it's really hard for resentment not to build up. And again, it's really hard to get turned on by somebody that you're secretly like harboring resentment from, and then they want something else from you. Emotional disconnection is another one. It's just, again, that's kind of like the first one I said, where you just kind of get like that roommate vibe because you haven't replaced the novelty of a new relationship that was creating that desire at one point for something else. Lack of novelty in general, like if it's the same routine, like if I can predict to the minute, like first he touches me here, then he kisses me for 5 seconds, and then we do missionary for 5 seconds, and then we do something else for 5 seconds. Like if it's like boring, like again, not necessarily going to hold the attention. Or like again, if it's just like, if you feel like unseen, like if you feel like you would just do this with anybody right now, like you don't desire me, you just want to have sex, like you're just horny. Like I think I said 5 things. I think those 5 things are the things that ultimately are creating this foundation, I think, in a woman's brain at least. Let me know if I missed any. So let me do my best to express the male side of this. So you're just like, I'm not in the mood because of all the reasons that I just listed. So like he initiates, you're like, no, thank you. He's gonna feel rejected. Like, how can you not feel rejected? And then over time, he might stop initiating, and then you might be like, oh, thank God, like less pressure. But he's like, she doesn't want me anymore. And when guys start to feel like unwanted, they start to feel like they're not respected. They don't have like that connection. They don't feel like they're being chosen by you. That's going to really screw up their sense of masculinity. That's where everything starts to go wrong. And guys don't always like have the words to say it because like I'm sure most guys don't want to come off like begging for it after a while, but the way that they'll express it is irritation, coldness, like maybe like passive aggressive, maybe shutting down, maybe picking fights, becoming withdrawn, whatever. And women, like we're intuitive, we're picking up on this. We're like, all right, we know why he's mad. It's been so long. And then again, that you're doing it because it's a chore rather than both of you being like, okay, let's just do a reset here. That's a really dangerous cycle to fall into. Now that we all understand each other, how do we get the spark back? So spark doesn't, if you had spark with somebody, I truly believe you can get it back. I just think it might be buried under pressure, predictability, emotional debt, overstimulation, overburden, resentment, whatever. So like, let's work on removing those things. And then you will have a cleaner foundation to create the spark arena. Okay. If I were you, I would completely stop having sex. I would be like, no. Because to be honest, I use this a lot with food too. When people want to start having control over food, I tell them have it. I tell them have it, but just do less than you're normally doing. You normally eat 12 bags of chips, cool, eat 6. You normally have half the whole box of Oreos, cool, have half. Like I give people permission to do it. And when I give permission to do it, the novelty wears off. People want what they can't have. That's why food is hard for people, because they put it on a pedestal and it becomes a very intricate part of their reward mechanism. But that means the opposite can be true. Did you like the girl or the guy in high school that liked you, or did you like the girl or the guy that didn't like you? Always the one that didn't. So I would say, and again, have this discussion as a couple, but like just be like, you know what? Sex is off the table for a little bit. Like, and then I would like flirt hard. There's a scene in Wolf of Wall Street, which I'm sure everyone who's seen that movie knows, where she's like, so she's like on the floor or whatever, and she's like, there's gonna be nothing but short skirts around here, and blah, 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 blah. And like, and then she's like, but then she withholds, but you could see how bad he wants it in that moment, the second that she's like, nope. But it works both ways too. And I think it just automatically like takes that pressure off. So I would be like, all right, little sexual break, but we're still gonna flirt. Now, during the sexual hiatus, if you have found that you guys feel a lot more like roommates, I would take that time to think about, okay, like what is the vibe now that we're not in any relationship anymore, right? We're a couple, but we're also a couple that has like commingled our lives. So we've sort of just become operators of our lives, but we haven't like worked in what like our sexual identity is here. So you're taking a hiatus, and now it's a good idea to like kind of take a step back and look and be like, all right, this is not my roommate. Like this guy's kind of hot or she's kind of hot, and like kind of reintroduce that kind of sexual identity like within the context of your life now. That's a lot more complicated than it was when you first got together. So during this time, here's how I would look at this. I'm going to use a fun analogy. We're going to use, let's call it a cat, like the animal or otherwise, but we'll say the animal. Let's actually talk about the animal. If you were to chase a cat, what happens? It runs. Cats don't listen. They do whatever the hell they want to do, right? If you pressure a cat, you're like, Minx, get over here right now. Like it's gonna hide. You're not gonna be able to find the cat. It's gone. If you demand it, if you're like, Minx, get over here right now, then like it disappeared. It's under the bed, it's in the closet, it's whatever. But if you create the right environment for the cat, like you throw out some catnip and you get its little scratching post out, and you're just like, nah, you do you, cat, then the cat kind of comes back. So in addition to kind of figuring out what your sexual identity is at this point in your relationship, like think about the environment that you like to set up for the metaphorical cat. And again, when you create the right environment, it just sort of happens. You don't have to force it. So then what I would do is, all right, here's what I wouldn't do. I wouldn't be cheesy about it. Like, and if this feels good to you, then do it. But for a lot of times, I feel like women like they'll like buy like lingerie, and then they're like, "Here's my lingerie," and it doesn't feel. It feels like you're trying too hard. I like the idea of creating uncertainty. I think uncertainty is like mysterious, and it keeps the other person guessing, but not in a way that like feels cheesy. So let's just say you like leave a cute voice note, or maybe like you send a cute pic, or maybe like the guy makes a plan but doesn't say what it is, just says like, hey, we're going somewhere at 6, be ready. Like anything, but just with like a little bit of just mystery around it. I think mystery kind of creates more of like a lust environment, where when things get very predictable, that's when it kind of like feels like boring and monotonous and whatever. So I like the idea of, for both people, sort of like being a little unpredictable, being a little mysterious, but in a way where it doesn't feel cheesy to you. This might be a little bit of a controversial tip, but I'm just going to throw it out there because it personally works for me. So I'm just going to use this as a personal antidote. I never feel like I have my boyfriend, but I do. So I know Nick is not going anywhere. But in the back of my mind, I don't live like that. I always live like, I don't know if this is toxic or not, but I always am like, someone else could get his attention. Like, ooh, maybe he could slip up. But like, I know he won't. But that mindset for me, it makes me like want to dress cute around the house. It makes me like want to be flirty. It makes me want to like try harder. I don't know. Like I know logically he's not going anywhere, but in my mind, I sort of like play this game with myself of like, well, and it sort of just makes me like feel like I still get to like win him. Like it still feels like a chase. And I mean, we've been dating for a couple of years now, so it's not like it's a new relationship or anything like that. And I feel like we both do that. I feel like we both know we have each other, but also know that like we have to maintain that. So I think don't be too comfortable in a relationship. Even if you are very comfortable, like don't allow yourself to experience yourself that comfort. And it does. It just keeps the spark alive. I don't know if that's a good tip or not, but it works for me. So I'm just going to throw it out there as a little personal antidote. So I know it's frustrating when you're in a relationship and like sex becomes a chore and it feels transactional, and it just it shouldn't be that. So if you're in a relationship and you're feeling that way, the goal is to kind of like take the pressure off. Number one, turn the play up, get the polarity back, let the novelty come back, like get the resentment addressed, get the emotional safety to become normal. Like those are all the things, like when the sexual desire is fading in a relationship, we try to treat that as the problem, but it's really usually a symptom for like underlying things. It could be as simple as like you guys just haven't figured out how sexual desire like fits into your life as your lives got more and more intertwined. Like, okay, let's fix that problem. Maybe there's like too much pressure. Okay, let's fix that problem. Maybe it's a polarity thing where, she's in her masculine when she comes home and she's carrying too much of the mental load. Okay, cool, let's fix that problem. Maybe it's a novelty thing. Either way, I think it's very possible to get the spark back no matter how long that you've been together. It's just about addressing it from this angle. So hopefully this was helpful to you. Share it with a friend. If you have that friend that's always complaining about her relationship or his relationship, send this to them. Follow me on Instagram at Mish_mindset. Let me know what your questions are. I'll address them on my stories or on the podcast, and I will see you guys next week.